Mr. D, my main aim is to calm the mind, to visualize more, hoping this can help. Okay, so right away I'll say a few things about that. Calm the mind is something that people overemphasize the importance of the mind. It's just that when the mind is all the time taking over your awareness, then it seems like the mind is the main thing. But the mind is actually not the main thing. The main thing is this pressure you have towards the world around you. I call it distortion. In Buddhism, it's called dukkha, suffering. So when you have the world around you, you create a like a pressure towards it. Everything has its own tension. So that tension creates this sense of self, which is you. And then from that, you have some thoughts. Oh, this is a bad sofa because I'm allergic to wool, so it's a bad sofa. And then I have a feeling of what bad means. That's a thought. And then you start running the thought, oh, how could they put a sofa of wool in here? Those bastards, don't they know that that could be dangerous? I mean, I put it here myself, but I'm just saying. So the mind goes off, but the mind is not actually the first problem. The thoughts are just a symptom of the stimuli and concepts and ideas that you take on. Secondly, hey Andres. Secondly, when it comes to visualization, there are different. I'm not going to say I'm against visualization, but I'll say that visualization takes you away from experiencing reality. It moves you away from what's happening now. Because when you go into your mind, you're kind of closing off your senses and you're going off in a fantasy. It's usually related to law of attraction, where people try to become harmonious with what they want, and then they believe that if they get that thing, they will be happy. So for me, law of attraction is just another way of getting stuff. Which, again, there's nothing wrong with that. I live in a house, I have kids and a family, I need to have stuff. I need to have money to pay for our home, I need to pay for this camera, I need to make sure we have food and that we have electricity. So it's not that that's something bad, but I see that as something separate from what we're doing here. So you can do that, but that's not what we teach here. I mean, a byproduct, when you take medicine, there's side effects. A side effect is that you'll have a calmer mind, but that's not what we're aiming for. So I hope I didn't scare you away, and I hope that makes sense. Ranjit Nyair. Some days I've great meditation. The other days I can't control the thoughts, even though I try to let the thoughts go. Do you prime your mind to a certain mood or emotion before you begin meditation? By the way, welcome. I don't think I've seen it before either. Well, not really emotion. I have this thing where I say that the main important thing, that the whole reason we're doing this meditation is to enjoy being alive, to feel good about being you, about being here, about experiencing. And I don't mean good about, oh, I have all these nice things, I have this lifestyle, I am healthy, I have my family, there's peace, hopefully where you're sitting and listening to this, there's a peaceful place around you. Those are ideas and things that you believe affect you. I'm talking about appreciating and enjoying experiencing the world through your senses. Just the very fact of, I'm looking now at this lens here, and it's a new lens. Actually, it's an old lens, but I wanted to try it instead. And it has this really nice big lens in front, and there's a reflection. And that reflection is interesting to look at it. It's actually beautiful. There's glass, and there's like a ring, and it becomes like a small mirror, and there's this tiny text, and there's metal and stuff around. So it's becoming your senses, experiencing your senses, not because you want to get something or because the world needs to be a certain thing, but to be here and enjoying being here. I call it being in a good mood. It's not really an emotion in the same way, but that's a bit more complicated topic. So no, I don't really prime myself. You can do that. But what I try to do is let go of all things and just focus on enjoying. That's the whole reason why I do these meditations. Jack, a wise man once told me, the more you think, the less of the real you is up front and the figure is in your place. He also told me that alcohol helps with getting you out of you. Yeah, okay, the first one, absolutely. Yeah, the more you think, the less you're here. That's when you go into a fantasy, even if it's a nice fantasy, a visualization, you take yourself away from here and you create more sense of me. And you think about something outside of what's happening here right now, which will not bring you that feeling of enjoyment or being in a good mood, which also I should say that's not really something you do. That's more something that comes up when you sit. It's not like you do this good mood. It's what's always there, and when you get out of the way, that's kind of what's there. My fiance, she jokes, and maybe she's not joking actually. She's dead serious, I think. She says that I'm much more enjoyable to be around when there's less of me there, when I'm not really there. And not that I'm off in my mind somewhere else, but when there's not so strong a sense, when I don't have a strong sense of self, because then I don't have to defend anything. I don't need to protect my ideas and beliefs, and there's less arguments. I enjoy just seeing things. I enjoy seeing my children play, not because I'm like, oh, they're so cute, they're so beautiful in their mind. I mean, all those things are true, but it's just seeing the joy of a child laughing and jumping around. And today they were just before now we put them to bed, they were jumping around on the sofa, tickling each other. And my youngest, he's 2 years old, and he has this like, childish laughter. As a child, only a child can laugh like that. It's just so nice to feel that. And alcohol can getting out of you. Yeah, I guess I mean, in a way it does, I guess. But the problem is that you're very unfocused and you're not really aware of the world around you. All right, there's a lot of questions today. We normally do 5 or 10 minutes, but that's fine. It's nice. Then we sit for 20 minutes and we'll have a discussion after. Beast, hello, nice to see you again. Jethro Bradley, hi Martin, first time stumbling across your live, but I have enjoyed watching a few of your videos. Oh, nice to have you here. Jethro Bradley, that's a nice name. Mr. D, could you briefly help differentiate prayer and meditation? Oh yeah, that's completely different. I mean, for me it is at least. But I guess it depends on what you put into it. That's actually a long answer in one way, but the short answer is that usually prayer is talked about as in you're praying to a god, goddess of some kind, and usually you're praying for something. You want something to happen. In meditation, there's so many different kinds of meditation that I almost don't want to say meditation, because what do you mean with meditation? Some people say fishing is their meditation. In a way, I'm like, yeah, that's partly true. But for me, meditation simply means you develop the mind. You practice using your mind, just like you can be a carpenter and you can learn to, well, that's not carpentry, fine carpentry, I think it's called, when you use a whittling, when you cut something out and you can cut a figure, like a statue, a small one. It can be beautiful, and there's lots of work, but you need to train how to move your hands, and there's techniques for doing it properly. You can't just take a big kitchen knife and like that. Actually, someone who's really good could probably take a kitchen knife and do that, but there are certain tools that are better for certain things, depending on what you want to do. So for me, prayer means you pray to someone or something, and you usually want a specific outcome. Meditation, we just practice using our minds to observe. And in the meditation we do here, we try to use the mind in such a way that we don't distort towards the world around you. We try to be at ease with being here, with being alive. Jack, and about invasive thoughts, just don't fight them, observe them, and let them be. They are not real. They have come and they will go. Absolutely. Beast, no emotions, no me. Yeah, that's actually very true. Ranjit, so you're saying that you do it because you enjoy it, not for any other reason. That's an interesting way to look at it. I always looked at it as if something I have to do to become calm and think clear. No, that then you're trying to, yeah. So that's actually really, damn, you have good questions. I'm happy you ask these things. Okay, I need to start. I need to, you see. I should start soon so it doesn't get too late, because it's evening time here. But you bring up a really good point, Ranjit, in that if you do meditation because you want to be calmer, to think clearer, then you're kind of basing this thing like, okay, in the future, if I meditate, I will get this reward. And the reward will be, I will be calmer, I will be think clearer, I can be more productive, I can be in the zone, what do they call that when they have this state, when they be in the flow. I can get in the flow and I can really produce a lot and I can earn lots of money. Or I can manifest these things. But the whole idea is that I'm not allowed to feel good and enjoy being here now. But in the future, if I achieve these things, then I will. If you start by enjoying and feeling fulfilled and just being okay with being here, and you learn to enjoy the things around you, and not even enjoying you, learning just what it feels like to enjoy experiencing reality. The thing is, people always talk about being in the present moment, and it's so airy-fairy. It's like it's very wide and generic, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's difficult to get anything really useful from it, because it's very generic. But when you focus on enjoying now, and enjoying being alive, enjoying experiencing your senses, if you think about it, what that means is that you're right here, because you're not thinking about, oh, this cozy thing that happened yesterday when I was cuddling up to this cute young girl. I'm 46, what am I talking about? If you're younger, I just assume that you're younger. This new girlfriend I met. Or I'm thinking about something in the future. Oh no, she might leave me, and I'm getting scared about that. You're pushing yourself out. If you're focusing instead of enjoying your senses, you take away the sense of self, and you actually plant yourself firmly in now, right here, enjoying what's happening through you. So when you visualize, you take yourself away from being here. When you try to get somewhere else by doing something, you also take yourself away. That doesn't mean you can't see that if I do this action, it will lead me that way. But there's a big difference between that. Very good question. Post the meditation. Sorry, I don't understand that. You mean I should post something or after the meditation? Beast. I heard voices over my shoulders to do something right and to do something wrong, but I always ignore both and do nothing. Good voices can be distracting, and you can have a lot of voices when you meditate. I never listen to anything my mind tells me, because my mind, when you meditate and you sit, there's just so much stuff coming up. It's like I usually describe it like this. This is the last thing I'll take up before we start. If I do like this the whole time on my arm and I stop, I will still feel a tingling, a sensation in my arm, because I've been banging it. It's the same with the mind. When you calm down and you let go of things, the mind is going to fire, and it's just going to shoot out all these thoughts and ideas. And they'll keep on running even though you are not doing anything, even though you're not focusing on anything. So that's why, yeah, I agree. Don't listen to what your mind says and what comes up. It's just stuff coming up. Sometimes it's good stuff and sometimes it's bad stuff. Nice. So for those of you who are new, what we do, we start with an exercise we call the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which means that we say out aloud 5 things that we can see, 4 things we can feel, 3 things we can hear, 2 things we can smell, and 1 thing that we can taste. And the whole idea is that we say them out aloud and we become aware of them. It would be better if you just said 1 thing out aloud that you saw, and you just focus and really saw that thing, than doing this exercise 10 times over. It's about letting go of all of this stuff and all of the ideas of concepts and just viewing the sofa for what it is. So I'll do it and you can do it together with me. If you can, say it out aloud. If you would disturb someone, then just say it quietly to yourself. After that, we sit for 20 minutes, and then after, there's usually the discussion. But now we had a little extra one in the beginning. Feel free to keep on sitting if you feel like you want to do that, or if you have any more questions or topics you'd like to discuss, or just drink a cup of tea. See, I think someone wrote some things before. Let's see. Ranjit is saying, how do you manage external world from disturbing your inner world? Like, why would the outer world disturb the inner world? There's a fallacy in that. It's not the outer world that's disturbing your inner world. It's your concepts and ideas of the outer world that's disturbing this thing you feel is the inner world. The outer world just is. It just is what it is. There's no reason why that needs to necessarily disturb your inner world. Now, I know what you're talking about, of course. Certain circumstances are very difficult to handle without letting it disturb what you feel is your inner world, but ultimately that is not really true, ultimately. And Ranjit is also saying, enjoy the conversation. Jack is saying, I might have an opportunity to go to reclusion in the mountains for a few months by the start of the new year. Oh, that's interesting. Is that with the center you spoke about before, Jack? You mentioned, I can't remember the name of them, but I think it was a Buddhist monastery near you. Is that the mountains of Iceland, or where would that be? Jethro is saying, I wasn't sure if that was going to be a guided meditation or not. Do you normally practice an open awareness meditation or mindfulness of breath? I defaulted to focusing on breath. Yes, on Thursdays it's we just sit together. Mondays I do guided. So let's see, what do you call it? Open awareness meditation. Well, basically we do what we do when we do the guided meditation anyway is a awareness of the breath, but not as in trying to get some strong concentration states or like these jhanas or work with that. They do come up, but that's not the goal. Instead, we use the breath as an anchor to be aware of what's happening, and then we're observing the senses that are coming in during that time. So we practice with the breath, but then we also want to take the breath with us out after the meditation. But you can do whatever you feel like here, that's fine. Jack is saying, no, not Buddhism involved. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. You can, I mean, that's a great idea, because, I mean, you practice for so long and you have enough experience that you can hopefully handle doing a retreat by yourself. It is, I don't know if that's with other people or if it's by yourself. Being by yourself, there are some disadvantages. It is much easier when you're with a group. It's easier when you have a teacher, and especially if you're doing more intensive meditation, because things come up, and it can be scary. It can be, it can be a bit crazy sometimes. So having someone who's done that before, or who has experience, can be a really helpful thing, because people really do go crazy at times through meditation. So yeah, but I mean, you speak about that quite often, that you'd like to do something like this. That sounds like a great idea, if it works with like work and everything else around you. Hey, Mindful Mama. Jethro is saying, thank you for clarifying. Mats, hey. I noticed a very tough resistance against the 5-4-3-2-1 technique and the meditation today. I got especially difficult at the halfway mark. Okay. Resistance. In what way? Is it that you didn't want to do it? Felt like I needed to mobilize a lot of discipline today. The thing is, when the sense of self is strong and you're being pulled in many different directions, the last thing it wants to let you do is just calm down and focus on one thing. It's like, no, you can't do that. We have all these other things that's important, or you have some reason why you can't do that, because that technique doesn't align with my religion, or that teacher doesn't suit me, or there's all these ideas kind of. But the sense of self, these distortions, are very good at coming up with reasons why you shouldn't do that. So just the mind in general, when you try to focus, will give you difficulties doing that. And it's not like many people believe that your progress is going to be like this. Okay, I start and I don't really get it, and then you start meditating. Oh, I'm getting it now. I'm understanding what to do, and it's going to go upwards. It's kind of more like this, and then it goes down and it gets worse, and then it goes up and then down. There's a lot of up and down in your progression as you meditate, because it changes. It changes for me as well now. It's more like this. I joke with my fiance about that. We say, Leia, we're so stable. She said, yeah, I'm like this. I never have any moods. It's like just like this. So the point being that these ups and downs become less, and there's more just enjoyment of being eventually. But there will also be times when it's very, very difficult to close your eyes. I have it myself. What I do is if I have that, I mean, the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method is actually really good against that. But something else is walking meditation. Walking meditation is really good when you have a lot of resistance, when you have difficult thoughts, lots of suffering, anxiety, like strong emotions that you can't handle. Then walking meditation might be better than sitting down and closing your eyes, because that can be overwhelming. So then you would do the walking meditation first, and then after that you can sit down and you can focus on your breath or do whatever technique you want to do. But it is easier to do something else. I also meditate with audiobooks. I've done that. I call it audiobook meditation, and I look for the distortions that are created by the audiobook. And that could be, I mean, I listened through the whole Harry Potter series with Jim Dale. Amazing man to read. Oh my goodness, his voice is so beautiful. And he does voice, it's incredible. I think I listened to it twice while meditating, because there's a lot of distortions coming up when you're hearing things, and it's a way to be focused and aware of what's happening and introduce slight distortions kind of. And sometimes when you have too much energy to sit still and not do something like this, then it can be a good thing to do that. See, Mats is writing, I tried walking meditation today. How did it go? I was kind of unsure if I was doing it correctly though. Yeah, you probably did it wrong. Just kidding. I'll have to put out a video on that one day. It's the one that I like to do is called I learned it from a Thai monk, I think he was. He called it the 7-step lotus walking meditation? There's a way that you can walk so that you always basically walk like this, and you turn every 7th step. And you do it so that you always turn towards the same side. So you walk here and you turn that way. And then you walk back and you turn that way. And you walk that way. And the reason is you don't want to be going around in a circle. Or at least this is the reason I found for doing it this way. If you walk around in a circle, it's easier to just start going in a circle all of a sudden. You want to go in a straight line. You want to be aware of the steps you're taking and then do that. Also, the way that I recommend you do meditation, as I do with all kinds of meditation I do, is that we don't do the Mahasi technique. They would focus on like stepping, touching, lifting, stepping, touching, and you can feel, or you can do bending, flexing, touching, pressure, bending, moving. You would note the sensations you're having, and that gives you really strong awareness. But that's not really what we're trying to do here. We're trying to use the movement, which is less anxiety prone than sitting down with closed eyes, to give us something to feel. And then we try to have a loose awareness of everything that's happening and just be aware. Let go of all these distortions, all this pressure around you, to just feel the sensations of moving. And we don't want to feel them like pinpoints. We want to feel the whole sense of us moving. That's at least how I teach walking meditation. Jack is saying, try not to think about progress, just be. And if you have to think, just let the thoughts of achievement and failure flow as they do normal with it any day work. Yeah, basically that's it. The difficulty though is doing that, but you are right, Jack. Jethro, did you say Jim Dale earlier? Yes, I think his name is Jim Dale. I hope I didn't say that wrong. He narrates the Harry Potter books in the American version of Harry Potter. This is when you say, hey, you know what? That's actually my uncle. That would be cool. Yeah, he has an absolutely incredible voice. It's just so soothing to listen to him. Some people just have a really beautiful voice, and that man, oh my goodness, it's like your grandfather, the grandfather you wish you had, like to read stories for you. And I think he won some prize for doing the most different character voices in a story. Not that I'm aware. No, he's an American voice actor. The British version is, what's his name? He's a comedian. I can't come up with his name now. maybe it pops up later. It's also good, that version. Ranjit is saying, I have difficulty in controlling emotional changes. Any advice to manage it better? Yes, one of the things that I teach my Stephen Fry, that's it, good Christian. One of the things I teach my students when we work is that we ask ourselves throughout the day, like continuously, we ask, how am I doing right now? What am I feeling? How am I, what's my internal state is basically what we're looking for. How am I doing? So when you're asking that, or basically it's like, how am I feeling? Am I in a good mood or in a bad mood? And if you look at that and you see, oh, I'm not feeling in a good mood, then you ask yourself, why? What happened? And then you trace your time, your thoughts back, and you look, okay, well, actually, the reason I'm in a bad mood now is because before I came to sit, my fiance, she said this one thing that was, she said that, hey, couldn't you hang up your jacket instead of just throwing it on the sofa? And I thought that was so dumb of her. Why would she say that? Like, I came in and I was busy. I had to take things up, so I put it there. And then when she didn't actually say that. I'm just making something up. And I would never throw clothes on the sofa. Never. Ever. So you then take that and you say, well, that's pretty silly. Why am I choosing to feel bad about something that happened before? Why am I letting that ruin this moment of being alive? I'm not even there now, but for some reason I'm letting this thing ruin how I'm feeling now. And it's all about enjoying, experiencing reality. It's all about being really here. So that's why we ask ourselves that question throughout the day. And whenever you don't feel like you're in a good mood, you trace your thoughts back and you say, okay, you know what, why not? And is that a sane reason to ruin your life? Because you are the one who's creating this distortion. You're going to blame it on the other person and what they did, but you're the one who's creating this resistance, this friction. And that is easy to say when we're sitting here and having a nice, calm conversation, but it's much more difficult when someone really does something that's difficult for you, and you can feel just as threatened from someone saying something harsh about your beliefs or your family or something you did, as you can actually be in a lethal and dangerous situation. Those things are just as emotionally charged. And for most people, though, we're not in any kind of physical danger most of the time. What we're talking about is just someone said something. You saw a TV show that you felt triggered by, or you walked by and someone did something. We're just talking about silly stuff for most people. So when those things come up, we look at that and say, okay, is this how I want to live my life? And you might say, yes, I do want to live my life like that. Well, that's up to you. What we're trying to do is change this belief that there's an absolute relationship between what happens on the outside and how you react on the inside. Because that is not true. You can change that. And that's something you can look at. Jethro is saying, okay, there's a British actor also called Jim Dale who was in the Carry On film series. Imagine Benny Hill, only more so. Okay, Benny Hill, I remember. I remember that from when I was a kid. I just assumed that Jim Dale was American since he did the American narration of Harry Potter, but I might be wrong. He's done many other narrations also. I have to look that up. Let's see, JVB. Hey, JVB. When meditating, how can I identify the root cause of my distortion of hopeless? Okay, I just, it's 9 o'clock, so we're going to take these and then we'll stop because I need to go to bed also. How can I identify the root cause of my distortion of hopelessness? The way that I do this is that I don't actually look for the root cause. So the reason you want to find the root cause is because you want to give yourself allowance to stop feeling bad or to stop feeling hopelessness. Because you believe if you figure out why you feel hopeless, then you can let go of that. I'm saying that all therapy, all counseling, all what they do is they give you a good enough reason that you accept to allow yourself to feel good. So I'll give you an example. In psychotherapy, they do like Freudian therapy. They would look back and they would say, okay, you know what, I'm really making stereotypes here. Look back and you know the reason you feel so unsure in relationships is because when you were young, your father told your mother that she was not allowed to do certain things. When she came home on Friday nights, she was not allowed to watch that TV show. And you always felt like that was, oh my goodness, if I get married, then I will be, someone will control me. I cannot be myself. That's the reason you have such a hard time with close relationships. And the therapist and you go through this and say, oh my goodness, I get it now. The reason I have such a problem with close relationships is because my father said that to my mother. It's like, okay, it's okay, I can let go of that. See, you just come up with a reason why it's okay for you to let go of that. Now, that might be true, but it might be something you just made up. Or it might be partly true, and then you just allow yourself to believe that. And since you believe it, then you're allowing yourself to not feel bad about it. So you don't need to find the root cause. There's not a lot of people who focus on that. I mean, there's something called prenatal birth therapy. So basically, I know people who work with this, they basically say that, well, your trauma, your hopelessness, it comes from when you, and I'm not kidding, it comes from when you were an embryo inside your mother, and then you actually suffocated. You had something that happened, that there was something, a complication with the, let's say the delivery, or even in the middle of the pregnancy, there was a problem. And so because of the trauma that you suffered now, you're suffering hopelessness. And then you go in and you do regression and hypnosis and all kinds of things, and you bring up this memory, and it's like, oh, I can feel it. Yes, that happened. My mother was trying to push me out, and I couldn't get out, and I felt so hopeless. And so because of that, that's why I feel, oh, I can let go of it now. For most people, they would say, well, that's just silly. But that actually works. It does work, because it gives you a reason that's strong enough that you accept, which allows you to let go of this thing that you have. Jack, progress in meditation can't be measured in kilometers per hour. There's no speed limit. No one to keep the score. The only one that keeps you from achieving your own jhanas is you. Well, I guess in one way you could call jhanas like a speed limit, a speed, if you want to make that analogy. But yes, you're right, Jack. Mats, would really appreciate a video on walking meditation. Anyways, thanks for the meditation, Martin. See you on Monday, hopefully. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mats. And Mats is absolutely right. It's getting late. I enjoyed tonight. Nice seeing so many new faces, and I wish you all a pleasant weekend, and try it. Ask yourself throughout the weekend, how am I doing right now? And if you're not feeling good, ask yourself why, and see if that's a valuable, a sensible way to spend your time. Again, not criticizing, not saying you don't have a difficult situation. I'm just saying, look if that is something that you can let go of. See you on Monday, everyone.